Hey, you think I don't know about YouTube? Well, I do. With today's story, you'll laugh, you'll learn, and you'll remember where you come from and recognize where you are going. The elders say, what the old sees while sitting, a young cannot see even from the top of a tree. So come now, listen well and let the story speak to your spirit.
They were born at the edge of the rainy season in the village of Kuje, a farming community tucked between palm groves and the slow, deliberate bend of the Munu River in southern Togo, where the earth stayed warm long after sunset and the air carried the smell of smoked fish, wet soil, and old stories. The twins arrived before sunrise, when the village was still half asleep and the river breathed heavily against its banks, swollen but calm, as if holding something back. Their mother, Mawule Afi, was the village belle, beautiful inside and out, kind-hearted and loved by everyone. She came from a lineage of women who are known to be pillars of society in their own right. Mawule named the babies Efo and Sewa, both now 26 years old in the telling of this story. Tall and lean with long limbs shaped by farm work, dark skin like polished mahogany, closely cropped hair, and faces so similar that strangers often mistook one for the other. Only time revealed their differences. Efo's eyes were slow and thoughtful, carrying caution and patience. Sewa's eyes were sharp, restless, always measuring distance and opportunity. Their father, Koku Afi, was a respected canoe carver and seasonal fisherman who believed that the river was not a god to be worshipped, but a living witness that remembered how people treated one another. He taught his sons to walk with their hands, to greet elders properly, to earn what they took, and to understand that reputation outlived strength. But he had a preference that was subtle yet unmistakable. Sewa, with his angular jaw, high cheekbones, and the curve of his brow, reminded Koku of his own father, a stern man whose presence had shaped Koku's youth. He saw in Sewa a reflection of legacy and authority, a son who carried history on his skin and in his gaze. Efo, quieter, rounder-faced, gentler in his ways, earned his father's pride through dutifulness, but never the same glowing affection. Sewa was indulged with tasks lightened, opportunities nudged, small allowances given before Efo could ask. Even the other villagers noticed the way Koku's voice softened when he called Sewa to help him with carving or fishing, or the way he lingered longer on Sewa's early successes, smiling as though the boy carried the wisdom of the ancestors. Their mother sold gari, palm oil, and smoked tilapia by the roadside. Her life a careful balance of generosity and endurance. The family never had much, but they were known as honest, and in Koje, honesty carried weight. But under her quiet care, the twins felt the weight of this preference. It whispered in small things. Sewa could leave chores unfinished and be forgiven. Efo was reminded of duty if a basket of yams fell or a canoe cracked. The river witnessed all of it, reflecting not just their faces, but the tension between them. From childhood, the twins were bound tightly by routine and expectation. They fetched water at dawn, farmed cassava under the midday sun, and returned home with dust clinging to their skin and stories clinging to their thoughts. Community treated them as one unit, praising Sewa for cleverness and boldness, while gently correcting Efo for caution and hesitation. The boys were aware, even if too young to articulate it. They watched each other navigate favoritism like currents in the river, one buoyed, one cautious, yet both moving forward together, inseparable but unequal. When the twins were 14, their father died unexpectedly during the Harmattan season. His canoe returned empty, nudged gently to shore by the river itself, as if placed there deliberately. A mystery that remained unsolved. The village mourned quietly, avoiding speculation, choosing respect over fear. Mawale aged quickly after that, her back bending under grief, sorrow, and responsibility. School ended early for the boys. Survival became the curriculum. They learned the rhythms of the local hustle, carrying sand for builders, harvesting palm kernels, fixing bicycles, repairing cracked radios, running errands for traders, and selling phone credit beneath mango trees. Money passed through their hands like water, never staying long, always needed elsewhere. As they grew older, differences carved space between them. Efo stayed close to home, supporting his mother, saving small amounts and measuring progress carefully. He found comfort in predictability, believing that steady effort would eventually soften hardship. Sewa grew impatient. He watched trucks roll toward Lome, listened to returning travelers speak of fast money and fast loss, and felt the village tightening around him like a boundary he had not agreed to. Where Efo saw community, Sewa saw limitation. Where Efo respected caution, Sewa felt delayed. The favoritism their father had shown in childhood lingered subtly, even after his death. Elders sometimes remarked on it in hushed tones. How Sewa carried the bearing of legacy, how he seemed destined for recognition, while Efo, solid but steady, walked in shadows, unnoticed. Sewa received small advantages from traders who remembered Kuku's reputation, from neighbors who assumed the eldest twin in spirit was Sewa, from friends who believed the boy who inherited a legacy would inherit favor too. Efo bore all of it silently, learning to temper jealousy with compassion, learning early that fairness was rarely a gift in human life, and that sometimes the river alone remembered truth without judgment. One humid afternoon, after a long day repairing fishing nets near the riverbank, the twins cut their palms on rusted wire hidden beneath reeds. Blood welled quickly. In exhaustion and instinct, they pressed their palms together, sealing the wound, sealing the moment, swearing without words never to turn against one another. No elder witnessed it, no ritual marked it, but the river was there, sliding past silently, and presence mattered. From that day, Efo carried the oath as a quiet compass. Sewa carried it as a promise of shared escape, unaware that the favoritism he had always received was a double-edged sword, planting seeds of pride that would later ripple into betrayal. At 26, the twins stood at a crossroads shaped by love, money, and expectation. Efo had grown close to Akosiwa, a pepper seller whose laughter softened his seriousness. Their relationship was built on shared responsibility, on helping each other carry burdens without complaint. Sewa's relationships burned bright and fast, fueled by admiration and ambition, often dissolving when reality interrupted desire. The village noticed, so did their mother, who worried silently, knowing that sons did not always listen to warnings spoken too softly. Sewa's confidence, once nurtured by his father's favor, now pushed him to make bold, often reckless choices, and therefore, steady and careful, could only watch, powerless, fearing the river's long memory would witness consequences beyond human forgiveness.
Trouble arrived when Mawule fell ill, weakened by years of strain and untreated pain. Medical costs mounted quickly. Fear crept into the household like dampness during the rains. Sewa proposed a solution that sounded efficient and bold. He had connections, he said, opportunities that required capital. The family land near the river, inherited from their father, could serve as leverage. Efo hesitated, feeling the weight of memory, tradition, and risk. The land was more than soil. It was the identity. But desperation blurred caution. Agreements were sealed. Money arrived. Relief followed briefly. At first, Sewa thrived. He traveled between villages trading palm oil and dried fish, returning with stories of progress and plans for expansion. Efo continued farming and supporting their mother, uneasy but hopeful. Then reality shifted. Transportation costs rose, buyers delayed payments, debts multiplied, interest grew relentlessly. The lender's patience evaporated. Sewa began avoiding home, chasing solutions that dissolved on contact. Without informing Efo, Sewa made a decision that fractured everything. He sold a large portion of the riverside land to settle part of the debt, agreeing to terms and conditions that carried consequences heavier than he understood. When Efo discovered the truth, betrayal struck deeper than anger. It was not just land lost, but trust violated, memory erased, and the blood oath quietly broken. The village murmured. Mawule cried without sound. The river flowed on, unchanged and watching. The loss triggered a cascade. The lender demanded more. Sewa, cornered by shame and fear, blamed circumstance, blamed fate, blamed the very bond he once believed protected him. Efo withdrew, torn between loyalty and self-preservation, between being a brother and being responsible. Akosiwa watched the strain carve deeper lines into Efo's face, understanding that love often meant wading through storms not of her making. Sewa, spoiled by attention all his life, now faced a world that did not forgive favoritism, that required responsibility he had never truly earned. Community elders intervened gently, not with condemnation but reflection. They spoke of imbalance, of choices made without counsel, of the river's long memory. A cleansing was suggested, quiet and restrained, acknowledging wrongdoing without spectacle. At dawn, the twins stood barefoot at the river's edge, water brushing their ankles, reflections trembling on the surface. No chants echoed, no accusations followed, only memory, regret, and consequence settled heavily between them. Redemption did not arrive quickly. Sewa returned home stripped of illusion, walking alongside Efo, facing judgment without defense. He learned humility not as defeat, but as grounding, discovering that ambition without responsibility was hollow. Efo learned boundaries, understanding that forgiveness did not require silence. Mawule stabilized, but never fully recovered, her strength permanently thinned. The sold land could not be reclaimed. Life adjusted around absence.
Over time, new routines formed. Efo and Akosiwa married quietly, building a life rooted in steadiness and mutual care. Sewa found purpose mentoring younger boys, teaching them through example rather than warning, showing them the cost of reckless ambition and the dignity of accountability. Eventually, he met and married Fafali. She became his peace, his anchor, every time he was tempted to be carried off by blinding ambition. The village softened gradually, time smoothing sharp edges as it always did. The blood oath, once sealed in pain and ignorance, revealed its true meaning. It was not protection from consequence, but a reminder of responsibility, teaching them that to every action there is an equal and sometimes opposite reaction. The Mono River continued its journey, holding memory, watching growth, carrying reflections of two men shaped by mistake and redemption. In Kauje, the story of the river twins became a quiet lesson, whispered rather than proclaimed, reminding all who listen that betrayal wounds deeply, but humility, accountability, and choice could still guide a long, difficult return home.
My dear ones, this is where our story ends for now. But tell me, what did your heart feel as you listened? Share your thoughts in the comment, You know Grandma loves to hear from you. And don't forget, press that subscribe button, like the story, and ring the little bell so that every time I come back here, you will be the first to join me. Until then, may your paths be safe, fruitful, and peaceful. Remember, keep your heart warm, your spirit curious and kind.